Are you pleading guilty because you are guilty?
Yes.
Breaking news now, continuing our live coverage from KREM 2 Plus right now. We've been bringing you the plea hearing for Bryan Kohberger this morning as he admits that he killed 4 University of Idaho students in November of 2022. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on KREM 2 News at noon. I'm Laura Papetti. If you've been with us all morning long, then you have likely been tracking this story with us as we continue to follow the story of Bryan Kohberger and the court accepting a plea deal today. All right, we have Amanda Rowley, our chief journalist. She was in the courtroom this morning and she is joining us live now. Amanda, thanks for being with us. We know you've been tracking this story all day long. First, for those just joining us, take us through some key moments this morning, of course, when Bryan Kohberger, for the first time, saying yes, he committed the murders.
Yeah, Laura, again, I think emotion remains the same when we watch Kohberger. It's remained the same, his interactions in the courtroom from the first hearing. We saw him in Moscow in Latah County. I will say he answered with yes or no to every question the judge asked and was very emotionless. Looking around the courtroom, you could feel kind of it sunk in, right? When the judge asked for each of the counts, burglary and all 4 counts of murder, and said, yes, I'm entering a guilty plea. The room, you could feel the weight of that. There wasn't any emotional reactions, but when I looked back at some of the victims' family members, they were looking straight ahead, almost as though they were processing that this moment was happening. Some of the key moments, the prosecutor outlined, Latah County Prosecutor Bill Thompson outlined evidence that would have been presented by the state in trial. We actually learned a few pieces that we wouldn't have, we haven't known about how Kohberger accessed the home. And the state says they have evidence to believe that Kohberger entered the home, the Moscow home on King Road, through the back kitchen sliding door. I remember that. I remember being on scene the first day of getting the report of this crime and seeing the different entrances, and that backsliding door was a big question. So now we know, based on state evidence, that Kohberger entered through that back door, went up to Kaylee and Maddie's room, and they say they were killed first. And then as he exited, the state says as Bryan Kohberger exited the home, ran into Xana, and that is when she was killed, and subsequently Ethan was killed. They say he exited back out that kitchen sliding door, and some other details that came to light is his cell phone showed him taking a selfie later on that morning, about 9:30 that Sunday morning, in his bathroom with a thumbs up. Just minor, big details that we haven't heard of before. A lot more about his GPS signal of where his phone was placed, as well as DNA gathering. Just a lot to take in from this case.
And Amanda, the families present today, the judge talked about how this all happened so quickly that he found out about it on Monday, and then the families finding out about it.
Yeah.
The families and people surrounding the families joining in today for this important, obviously, hearing, they were all there, correct?
Yes, the Chapin family, the Mogan family, and the Gonsalves family all here today. I believe Kernodle, they were all here, and they came with support. Right, they had multiple family members, friends with them in the courtroom today.
All right, Amanda Rowley reporting for us. Amanda, you've been following this case now since the beginning and in the courtroom today. We appreciate having some great perspective there, being able to take us through that. Thank you very much. And Amanda will continue her reporting throughout the day. Amanda mentioning what it was like in the courtroom today, as for the first time we are all hearing that Bryan Kohberger accepting responsibility, accepting guilt for the murders of 4 University of Idaho students and for that burglary. Let's take a moment and listen in.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, enter the residence at 1122 King Road in Moscow, Idaho, with the intent to commit the felony crime of murder?
Yes.
Did you, on November 13th, 2022, in Latah County, state of Idaho, kill and murder Madison Mogan, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
Did you, on or about that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Kaylee Gonzalez, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, and with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And did you, on that same date in Moscow, Idaho, kill and murder Xana Kernodle, a human being?
Yes.
And did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
And then on or about November 13th, 2022, again in Latah County, Idaho, did you kill and murder Ethan Chapin, a human being?
Yes.
Did you do that willfully, unlawfully, deliberately, with premeditation and malice aforethought?
Yes.
That's from the courtroom earlier today, and we do have a guest joining us now, attorney Jeffrey Feiner. Jeffrey, thank you for being with us. You've been an attorney for 40 years, so here to give us some perspective, just overall perspective of the proceedings today.
Certainly, I'm happy to do that. There's relief for a lot of people with this decision to plead guilty, but the pain and the trauma is going to go on. First of all, there's going to be a sentencing coming up in about a month.
Right.
We know what the sentence is going to be. It's going to be 4 consecutive life terms.
And that's what the judge said. That is the higher end. They technically have the ability, the court, to lower the sentence, but that's unlikely, I assume.
It's not going to happen.
Okay, so 4 consecutive life sentences and
Without parole.
without parole.
Which means he will die in prison. And it also means that the state is done with the prosecution. The $1 million or more it would have taken to run this trial isn't going to have to be spent. The possibility of maybe some kind of verdict that would be upsetting is gone. The defense, they're all gone.
Well, in just the trial itself, I mean, irrespective of what the outcome would have been of the trial itself would have been so brutal
Yes.
for families to have sat through.
At the end of crime, the trauma's not over.
Right.
And if there's law enforcement and they catch a perpetrator and they put the perpetrator on trial, there's still grief and trauma for everyone involved. And it's not a question of expense only financial, it's expense emotionally on everyone.
Absolutely.
This would have been a very difficult case to go through a trial. And it may not have been a foregone conclusion, although my best guess is, having now heard the plea, it would have been extremely difficult to defend this case.
But a massive case nonetheless. They talked
Yes.
about having to bring in 10,000 people to vet them for a jury.
That seems large. I don't know that it would have taken that much, but it does require you have 12 people ultimately sitting who can say in good faith that they don't have a predetermined decision about the outcome. It could have been tried. Eventually we get juries to sit. But the thing is people want finality. And this is the only problem I can see with the decision of what happened today, is that we have finality for a trial. There's not going to be one. But he waived any right to an appeal, and that means he's not going to be allowed to appeal any sentence he does get. And it seems like that will be the end of it. But I have to say, it's actually never over in a case of this size.
Right.
He can always allege that his defense counsel weren't adequate for him.
Even though today he answered the judge in sort of that procedural moments that he was not being forced to do this, he had not
Correct.
been promised anything.
Correct.
So he can still go back?
Well, yes, any defendant can at some point within a year, generally, after a conviction like this, and say, you know, I wasn't told certain critical things, or my lawyers failed me, and when I told the judge I wasn't forced, that was based on what I knew at the time. It doesn't happen often. It rarely works, but I want to say this much. The finality, it's never final. There could be another court proceeding within a year's time. He can allege new evidence that he now has that his lawyers failed him. I don't foresee that, but I caution folks when they talk about, is this over? It's probably over, but he may yet be in the headlines in a year's time attacking his lawyers. That's really the last step of it, but then the real finality, the peace for the families is inescapable. The families that agreed to this, the families that don't agree to this resolution, their pain goes on no
Because
matter.
all the families have different perspectives, and
course.
understandably so.
Of course.
One last quick question. I thought it was interesting today, but you may have some good perspective on this. There has been a gag order in effect. The judge held that gag order until sentencing.
Yeah.
Why not let people speak, being that there's not likely going to be now a trial?
That's a great question. We're not going to see a jury in this case. The jury's aspect of this is now gone.
Right.
He is found guilty. Sentencing, however, is still a moment of great focus, and it is conceivable that a lifting of the gag order could affect sentencing, and it could affect what happens afterwards. I suspect the judge will be forced legally to withdraw the order when the sentencing is done. He does have 30 days in which he can file an appeal. It won't be granted. He's already given up that right. But that kind of tumult that sometimes comes after a case, it's probably best to leave the gag order in place a little longer. Personally, I thought the gag order was gone. Once the jury was out of the scene, I thought, well, that's the end of the
That's
gag
what we
order.
thought.
No, the judge is being very careful. And as I thought about it more deeply, I think this judge is wisely using another month of gag order just so that something doesn't go wrong. Sometimes things go wrong.
And there's a lot of emotion, of course.
There
and
is a
a lot
great
of
deal
things
of
that can
emotion.
get out there. Oh, right.
Yeah.
We appreciate it so much.
You're welcome.
You're sort of retired, and we appreciate you
Sort of retired.
coming in and spending a little bit of time with us, giving some perspective. We're going to take a quick break here on KREM 2 News at Noon. We'll be right back with more.